Well, we can now speak to personal finance expert Jasmine Birtles. Jasmine, thank you so much for joining me. Food inflation hitting 6%. That is pretty abysmal, at least on a budget we were told would lower costs. What is the impact on consumers going to look like?
Well, it's already hurting the consumer. I mean, anybody who buys food in the supermarket will have seen over the last few years that the amount that they're having to pay for the same basket of goods has gone up and up. And frankly, these figures like 4%, 6%, they don't feel real, I think, to the normal consumer. It feels more like 10%, 15, 20% even at certain times. It depends what you're buying. And, you know, we're hearing, for example, there's been an article in The Guardian saying that it's climateflation. And they're saying that by 2050, because of climate change, food prices could go up by a third. Well, that's possible, but I think actually there are far more factors that are at play in this. And you touched on a few just now. For example, we've got the cost of employing people in supermarkets and in anywhere, certainly in food production. That's already putting prices up. You've got national insurance going up, minimum wage going up, and minimum wage really affects a lot of food production jobs. But also we have the way the farmers have been treated, and we have more and more farmland in this country being turned into just, you know, solar panel farms, or they're being rewilded, or farmers are just being told to sell their farms. So there does seem to be, to me, to be a specific policy to reduce our production of food in this country, which it seems crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a national security risk, really. We need to be able to produce our own food in this country. I think we import at least 30% of it now. You know, Labour have been blaming Brexit and the Tories for these spikes in inflation. They're over a year now into the job. Are the Tories and Brexit really to blame, or is this budget failure from Rachel Reeves?
Well, yeah, I think, frankly, all of the above. I don't think that Brexit is a major. It would be some, because, as you say, we are importing a lot, and so, you know, there are tariffs, there's a lot of red tape now that people are dealing with, so there could be that. The Tories, certainly prices were going up under them, but now I think the problem is that not just food, but everything's going to be going up, because this government is spending more and more, and they're going to have to fund that somehow. And how are they going to do that? Well, particularly by printing money. When you print money, you create inflation. So I think we can expect, sadly, we can expect not only food inflation, but inflation generally to continue and potentially go up.
Jasmine, you know, you're a personal finance expert. What sort of behaviour do the consumer take when they feel like they're about to get squeezed again? Does that actually put even more pressure on these prices, or does it end up people just spending less and having some sort of deflation on them in the end?
Well, it's a good point. I think what we're finding is people are, you know, you have to eat. So people are spending more on their food because they have to. In many cases, they are going down a brand if they haven't already. You know, they're not shopping at Waitrose so much. They're shopping more at Lidl and Aldi and Morrison's and Co-op, etc. But even there, you know, the prices are going up. So what we're seeing is people are spending more on the essentials, so they have less to spend on the fun things. People are not going out to eat so much. Of course, restaurants, pubs, clubs, those have seen their prices go up because they are very much affected by the food inflation and energy inflation and wage inflation. You know, they've got lots. So there's a big squeeze, I think, on them because nobody's got the money to go.
Yeah, this is the problem, isn't it, Jasmine? It's almost like a race to the bottom, because when consumers stop spending because inflation is too high, then you start getting those red flags for recession indicators, don't you? It's not looking good if Labour can't cut something somewhere, which they've not been able to do. How much manoeuvrability does the Chancellor actually have between now and the next budget?
Well, this is the thing, you know, I hate to say it, but I do feel a little bit, just a little bit sorry for Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, because they know that they need to cut. As you say, they've tried to cut. Their own party has stopped them. They tried with the winter fuel payments. They tried with PIP. Frankly, I think there are better things that they could have cut, but they do know that they should cut. But they're not being allowed to by their own party. And So they've created a problem for themselves because
Yeah.
they're insisting on spending. They're giving spending on the public sector, giving all sorts of jollies to all of them, civil servants, etc. But they're not enabling growth. In fact, they are manacling growth by increasing taxes. So if you're increasing taxes, you're not making the cuts that, nobody wants these cuts, but they have to be made.
Well,
And
this
if
is
they're
the
not
thing,
doing that,
Jasmine, isn't it?
well,
Doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. Public will hate you, whatever
Yeah.
you do, especially for cutting things. There's going to be a certain sector of people, particularly on the left, that don't like that. But listen, personal finance expert there, Jasmine Birtles, thank you so much for joining me and talking about
Thank
that.
you.